We've got Kelly joining from FAUNA Rescue of South Australia. Welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Now I've heard some good things about you, Pauline. Spoke very highly of you and said you're doing some great work with the possums and reuniting the Brushtail and Ringtail possums. So before we get into that, let's just talk about FAUNA Rescue, what they do, just in a little bit of a nutshell, and a little bit about yourself. When did you get involved?
Yeah, okay. So when I joined as a member of FAUNA Rescue of South Australia Inc. in 2017, I had a passion for wildlife, in particular the ringtail and brushtail possums, and to be able to rescue, rehabilitate and release them back into their natural environment. I also volunteered at the Adelaide Koala and Wildlife Centre back at about 2017 and went on to complete a Certificate 3 in Animal Studies Wildlife in 2018, and I also did the Certificate 3 in Captive Animals through the Taronga Training Institute in 2020. So yeah.
So you love animals
I love
love helping.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's about getting the wildlife back into their environment.
Exactly. FAUNA Rescue do so much, don't they?
They have so many things that they can do. We can volunteer in the admin side, or we can do the caring, or we can do the transport. There's so many things that we can volunteer for through FAUNA Rescue.
And all the different animals they look after, the bats, microbats, possums, what we're talking about, kangaroos with their joeys, reptiles. That's right, it's Nick that does the reptiles. Yes. Is he still doing it?
Absolutely.
Taking care of them? Yeah. Because we had a lizard, or actually a couple of lizards at our house, and my dog got to it and it was a bit injured, quite injured, and Nick was great. He guided us through it because he couldn't sort of turn up at our house in that particular moment on that day, and he said, look, do this, do that. We took it to the vet, so very helpful.
That's it, and it's about getting them the care that they need, whether that be a vet or into a carer that can actually look after them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So brushtail and ringtail possums, what's the difference?
Okay, so basically, I don't know if you know, but there are quite a number of species of possums in South Australia. There's about 30 species of possums in Australia.
30.
But we have 5 of the main ones are the brushtail possum, the common ringtail possum, the eastern pygmy possum, the western pygmy possum, and the little pygmy possum. But obviously the main ones we see in suburbia is the ringtail and the brushtail possum. To tell the difference, it's interesting because I always say black tail brushtail, white tail ringtail. We get quite a lot of calls where they'll say we've got a ringtail possum because the tail rings. However, there is a difference between the way. Sorry.
It rings.
So the tail rings around your finger.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, but they both do that. So normally they think that it's a ringtail, and they're very different in the fact of the brushtails are grey with the black tail. The ringtails are brown with the white tail. I always say when you get the little joeys that come in with the Reunite program is that, the brushtails look like little kangaroos, like a smaller version, and then the ringtail possums look more like a bear.
Okay. How big?
So we get joeys coming in from like basically 50 grams, and the brushtails, I'm going to say around 80 or 90 grams. They can be as small as that.
So what are some things that is sort of affecting them in the environment? Like what are some main things affecting them?
Habitat loss. Absolutely. People are removing the trees from their properties and then they're losing their habitat. So that's their food source as well as the hollows that they live in. The ringtails are quite different because they can actually build a dray. So they can actually build their own home, but they've got to have a tree to build it in.
What's a dray?
A dray is like a spherical ball of leaves, dry leaves that they actually create and build with their tail. We've got some footage.
With their tail?
So with the leaves they collect in their tail, we've actually got some footage of some carers that have cameras that have been able to capture how they build their drays, which is amazing to see.
It is amazing, isn't it? Nature, you think, who taught them? People say that when they look at nature and birds and the nests are so intricate, when you see a nest that's fallen on the footpath and you think, you see bits of fluff. And actually I saw a bird, a noisy miner recently, pecking at, my dog's got like this lion teddy bear that he likes, and he left it out and the bird was pecking the lion's mane and getting all the fluff from the teddy bear. And so, yeah, they get everything, don't they? Sticks and this and that and anything they find, fluff lying around in the backyards.
Absolutely, the birds do that. With the possums, I think they mainly use the sticks and the leaves, and they build their dray to live in. So, and they're very, the other difference I think with the brushtails and the ringtails is that the ringtails are more family orientated, whereas the brushtails are quite solitary. We're led to believe. So yeah, that makes a difference as well. So they live as a community, the ringtails, hence the Ringtail Reunite program.
One of the ladies, actually Pauline and Shane, were saying that about the bats as well, that they live in a community. They're quite family oriented. They stay in a pack. They have each other's back.
And I think some birds do as well, like the magpies have a sort of a family unit as well.
Yeah. Are you talking about the larger magpies or the Murray, the little ones?
The larger magpies, yeah.
That's interesting, because actually we've got some Murrays, and I think amongst the family the mother was sort of pecking and attacking the little one. That's why I asked which one, and I think it is the bigger ones. That's right, because they do come, like usually 4 of them come to our house, because they always visit our house because we sort of give them a little bit of food.
Because people often see a baby or fledgling on the ground. Birds aren't my specialty, but they think that it's solitary and it's by itself and they need to save it. But in actual fact, the parents of the magpies are actually, I believe, in the area and coming down to ground to feed them.
Oh, right, yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting that I think they're more a family unit.
Yeah. But I'm thinking that the Murray magpies, the smaller ones, they're a bit more, I think they might be more sort of on their own, a solitary thing, because like I said, I think they were pecking at the little ones as if to say, go away from this environment, this is ours now, you know, when they're ready to fly the nest, right? They sort of tell them to go away. That's like the, what's the other one, the wattle birds, just to divert slightly, the wattle birds are like that too, because they were coming to us with their little ones, and then when the little ones grew up, they were literally attacking the little ones as if to say, go now. It's really interesting to watch the behaviour of different species.
I think that's the key, is watching the behaviours and observing what they do to know if the parents are still around, and that's part of the Reunite program, is a lot of it was observations.
Okay. And regarding research around and this sort of thing with the Reuniting program, what sort of research is happening? Is it ongoing?
So basically what happened was in 2019, I really seriously wondered if we could actually reunite these babies or joeys back to mum. So I started looking on the internet and I found a paper titled Lost Possum Babies, and an alternative to hand rearing. So I started reading that to get some idea on how we could possibly reunite. The busy season obviously is in spring, so I started researching that. So the first year we sort of went out and we tried to reunite, I think it was mainly brushtail possums, and we only had a success rate of like maybe 3. So that inspired me to continue, because there was a lot of times where we didn't reunite, but when you got a success story, it was great. So basically I've been researching the Reuniting for about 4 years, and each year the statistics are increasing. It's my personal research. It's not a program that's funded by anyone. It's just me going out. I'm out most nights, probably for a minimum of 3 hours, and I'm looking for mum, and so it's not a small feat.
What sort of suburbs?
All over Adelaide. So I've been up to Tunkillo, which I didn't know where that was.
Where is it?
It's towards Murray Bridge, somewhere out that way, driving in the dark. And you know, I've been out to Golden Grove recently. I've been out to Woodcroft, so I do travel all the way to Adelaide to reunite them, because the difference between keeping them in care is probably 5 months in care, feeding, collecting leaves every day, feeding milk, as opposed to going out for 3 hours and attempting to find mum and reuniting it back.
Yeah. Well, what do you feed them?
So we feed possum milk. They're lactose intolerant, so you never give them cow's milk. The best thing if you have them in care is hydration is the main thing. Depending on the size of them, they have to be hand-fed or they might be lapping. Ultimately, the best thing is to get them to a vet if they are by themselves. So we use possum milks that we can get, which is a Wombaroo or a Biolac.
Oh yeah,
that
Wombaroo, that's a good brand, isn't it?
It's one of the brands, I think, that does all types of different marsupial milks. Yeah.
We buy that to put in the magpie food. They sell it at Pet Stock because it's all like insects all ground up like a powder. Yeah, that's what it's called, insectivore. And they said on the box it says put it with a little bit of mince.
Yeah.
Because they were saying not to give magpies just mince on its own, but on the box it says sort of mix up the powder with a bit of mince. So mainly getting the powder, the insects.
Yeah, so the same thing happens with the milks. We buy the milks and we give them the possum milks because they're lactose intolerant.
And it's good, like if people want to help with the wildlife or if they want to feed a bird, always check first. I'll just say that because I did see a post on Facebook and there was a magpie, the larger magpies and the beak, you know how their beaks are sort of half broken?
Yes,
That's because of the mince. People feed them just straight mince meat or bread, which is really bad.
Yes.
And they were pleading, I can't remember which sort of rescue group it was, they were pleading with the community saying, please don't feed magpies mince, look it up, do the right thing, you know, get advice, like ring up places like this, Fauna Rescue, say, what do I feed them?
Absolutely, that's what we're there for, to give advice to the members of the public, and they will ask all the right questions in relation to the size. But obviously with possums you must have a permit in order to rescue and care for them, so members of the public can't keep them to care. They have to have a permit or have to go through that process.
When I say handle, I mean they can't touch it. Is that right? Like with the bats, you can't touch them?
No, you can touch them.
You can touch them?
You've just got to be very careful when, especially an adult possum will be quite feisty. They will bite, so we do wear gloves and we do actually use towels and we do have baskets and things like that. So the rescuers, obviously if it's very, very poorly, you can usually scoop it up in a towel, pop it in a box or a carrier and take it to the vet. If you have one that's a bit feisty, then you can call, Fauna Rescue and they can try and organise a rescuer to come out.
So what are the advantages of reuniting joeys and the disadvantages?
So I looked at what the advantages of reuniting were, and basically, as I mentioned earlier, the joeys are in care for a shorter period of time. So depending on why they've come in or how long hydration takes, and if there's any injury and needs treatment from, medications, they would be in care for 1 to 7 days rather than the 4 to 5 months, which would be taking them through to release. And the advantage is that they're back in their habitat with their family group, back with their mother, learning the survival instincts to survive in the wild. And that also then frees up our carers for more time to rehabilitate other possums that have to be in care due to the fact that we wouldn't be able to reunite a joey if mum was deceased. So therefore they would have to go all the way through to release. Whereas a joey where mum is still alive, we then have to go out and find her and, reunite it back.
How do you know if it's the mum or not? How do you introduce them, so that the mum doesn't, or the adult one, not the mum, might not be a mum, but they might attack it? Could they attack it?
So it's interesting because it's been a process over the last 4 years. So we do use a recording of a cry of a baby to get their attention, and then basically it's a lot of observations, obviously being out 4 years every night, trying to work out who's mum, and basically you get their attention. So we have equipment to reflect light off their eyes, and so that's how we find them. Then we play a recording which gets their attention as well, to then see them move through the trees. Then you have to have an extra torch that's high powered so you can see if it's a male or a female. So once you've got all that in place, then it's a matter of depending on the size of the joey, we would then put the joey in a position where it may be contained, or depending on the size, seeing if the joey has to cry. That's the main criteria of the Reunite program, is that the joey has to cry. Mum will only come down to a live cry. So we tried recordings earlier on, that didn't work.
Because they're smart, as we know, animals are so smart.
Very intelligent.
We can't trick them.
Yeah, that's right. So, and usually if she's lost, and this is the other thing too, is if the Reunite is unsuccessful, then you've got to really look at, is there something wrong with the joey? Is there something wrong with mum? We don't know how it ended up on the ground in the first place.
Yeah.
So there's so many factors to take into consideration with doing a reunite, and I always put a disclaimer on my reunite videos that I post that, you know, make sure you go out with an experienced person, because they might not be able to thermoregulate. They need milk every, say, 4 or 5 hours. And so members of the public just popping them under the tree and leaving them is not the ideal thing, depending on their size. And I think I did have a situation like that the other day where mum didn't come. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So ring
Fauna Rescue.
Fauna Rescue.
Yeah.
So just backtracking a little bit, how do the babies get lost from the mum?
So we can't really tell, but like we had one the other night where it just fell out of the tree, and the member of the public, I've had a couple where they just fall out of the tree during the day, and the members of the public see them. Luckily they then bring it in, and then we've got the exact location. So I think for everyone listening, the main thing that we need is the exact location of where the baby is found.
Yeah.
And it's always good when we have a call to maybe ask them to take a photo of the tree that we can forward to the reuniter, so that they have a landmark or an area, or leaving your phone number at the vets so that we can contact you, so that you we had people that met us out the other night. We ended up finding mum.
Really?
But we were not
finding mum?
We found mum, and we did reunite, but we weren't sure if we were in the right area. We'd walked around, and as I said to you, it's a 3-hour event. We were walking around for half an hour and couldn't find a possum. And then basically, as we found the possum, the members of the public agreed to meet us and arrived at exactly when the reunite was happening, which was great. They were able to see it as well.
So people were helpful from the community and willing to work with you.
Absolutely.
Good.
And it's so amazing, because some people like to watch and see the reunite, and some people may go and knock on the door and say, by the way, we've reunited, do you want to come out and have a look? And baby's on mum's back if it's that size, or baby's in the pouch.
Gorgeous.
So
That's gorgeous. Yeah, look, most people sort of have a heart for animals, don't they? You know, some don't, and that's their call, but it's good to hear that most people do love animals and want to help. Yeah,
they're very helpful.
Absolutely. So what happens if an orphan joey is not reunited?
So if an orphan joey is not reunited, then it would go into care. So then we would find the carers who have the right qualifications for that sizing, to feed and care for it, take it through to release.
Okay. What about, there's also the issue of carer fatigue. Is there a lot on the team? Have you got people to call? Have you got backup people to help support?
It's difficult out there to find carers. It really is, and carer fatigue is one of our main issues of burnout, because I've been caring. I think this year I've had 103 animals through my house just this year, and I don't think we're at the end of the year. I think it's 30 June. So that's how many I've had through my house. And that can be 4 alley feeds, 6 alley feeds, TLCs, the reunites, etc. So, you do get burnt out doing the caring. I also work as well.
Really? Because I was going to say, this sounds like a full-time thing.
It is.
You work as well.
I work as well.
Have you got someone at home to help?
No, I do it all by myself. So, and you've got to, as I said, with possums, you've got to go out and collect leaves as well every day, fresh tips for the possums. So it's a lot of work and it's a lot of time. So you do get burnt out. I think the most I've had without a possum is 9 days in the last 12 months. So we've got to be very careful with our carers not to overload them and make sure that they set their boundaries. But we do have 2 dedicated counselling support services for wildlife, which is Wild Talk and 2 Green Threads, that we also communicate in our communication spotlight their details in order for carers to be able to call that free service and have a conversation if they're struggling, because it's very difficult when you do possibly lose an animal that you don't know what's wrong with it. They don't all survive. So you've got to really look after yourself.
Wild talk and carers threads.
2 green threads.
2 green threads.
Yeah.
2 green threads and wild talk. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else we have to share before we wrap it up? I suppose we need a number, website as well. Our website's faunarescue.org.au, and if you've got a number, or just get the number from the website.
Get the number from the website. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No,
I suppose the only other thing is to just, what a member of the public can do if you find a joey on the ground. The best option is for organised to get it to an experienced wildlife carer or a vet immediately to be checked. And the other thing is, as I've said before, survey the location to make sure that mum is not deceased. Give the location to the vet or the wildlife organisation, so that's the exact address, and keep the joey warm. If you get something that doesn't look like it's got a lot of fur, pop it down your top in a sock or something similar. Use a heat pad or a hot water bottle, not like boiling water, but hot water from the tap, and just basically get it to the vets or to an organisation called Fauna Rescue, and we can organise the carers for you.
So if someone did find a joey and put it on their chest down the top, do they scratch? Do they try to get out? Are they sort of, do they know that they're being cared for? Have they got that instinct to not move around?
So the small joeys,
the little
pop it in a sock or something. Obviously, you're going to do something that's under 100 grams for a ringtail and under 200 grams for a brushtail. You wouldn't do anything bigger that's fully furred, 300, 400 grams type thing. So you've got to probably distinguish that the joeys are sort of the size of a mouse.
Little.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Kerry.
Thank you.
I think we covered everything. Yeah, that was good.
Thank you so much for having me. I love giving information on our Reunite program, and if you've got any questions, you can call Fauna Rescue and they can get in touch with me.
Perfect. Well, thanks for the work you're doing. I mean, thank you feels like it's not enough, because you're doing this all volunteering, and you're dedicating a lot of your life to this. So I know the possums will be grateful in their spirit. Somehow they know, don't they? Somehow they know they're being cared for. They've got someone on their team.
Absolutely. And this year we did 73 reunites as opposed to none prior, and 27 the year before. So we've increased it, getting them back where they belong, and that's the best outcome you can have, to be honest.
Great reward. It's rewarding for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good on you, Kerry. Thank you.
Thank you.